Today's shout out is for Zuldinga. Galadriel of Lothlórien versus Aragorn, Zurzoth, and Demon Lord Belzenlok. Wouldn't keep that if it wasn't for the Sylvan Library. I'd like to get down a turn 2 Galadriel, but we're on curve at least. We can get down the puzzle ward after that, so yeah, we're on a 4-turn curve there. We'll keep Aragorn throwing out a Windbrisk Heights, so have to watch out for multiple creatures attacking in. Okay, it's a decent draw in Tatyova, so definitely still on a curve here. We've got some Snow Matters cards in the deck, so not only going to take the turn to get a tap land out, but also get the snow permanents on the go. While we're looking at the library, let's see here. That is one, the Merit Lage's Slumber, and then there's another one, we've got the Graven Lore as well, so get down Rhinewood Falls tapped. And then going straight through to the Aragorn player's turn again, a Thought Vessel over there. Yeah, just seeing precon cards here, so I'm not sure if this is just the precon deck. Alright, there's Utopia Sprawl is good, so we can go for a forest and we can still ramp here. That does have to go on a forest, so throw it on the basic and it can tap for Simic mana. So then we tap that down for 2 mana straight away, and it's straight into the Sylvan Library, which we can stack the top of our deck with, so hopefully that will be relevant this game. First commander of the game is Zurzoth Chaos Rider. Haven't seen anything from the Demon Lord yet. And another commander comes out in Aragorn, so do we play our commander into a potential Toxic Deluge? I think we can test our opponent on it while we're ramping. So Sylvan Library going to trigger, allowing us to look at more cards. The first one is the Mystic Speculation. Courser of Kruphix will get us life, but we can look at the top card of our library as well and decide on how to stack abilities from our commander. And then a Sigilled Starfish for the Scry as well. So I think we go quite aggressive in order to actually look at some lands on top of our library, hopefully. So we're not going to hold up any other interaction. We want to cast this for 3. So let's just go for our commander here and we can get down a tap land. Not seeing a board wipe, instead a Warm Power Stone from the black player, so I'll likely see this commander next turn. And then we're into a Geth's Grimoire from the black player, so yeah, that's playing into his hand nicely. Swinging into the black player with the commander. I'm going to discard a card, which means that Geth's Grimoire will trigger and draw him. Discarding a Burning Inquiry to that, which I'm sure he would have liked to have kept hold of with the Grimoire in play. Gormand was discarded over here as well, so might be Demon Tribal. A Herald's Horn for the Jeskai player, so yep, naming human with that, we'll assume that this is Human Tribal. And straight into what is now a 2-mana Gilrain. Alright, so now round to our turn, and I think Aragorn dealt some commander damage over here. Yeah, Aragorn dealing commander damage to the black player. So there we see a Preordain, so now's where the concentration levels start. Getting down both Tireless Provisioner and the Preordain would be good here, so if we go 4 life into Preordain and the land on top, that way we'll be able to cheat it into play with our Galadriel. And we'll play out the Tireless Provisioner, and that's obviously going to make us tokens with landfall. So then Preordain activates the first scry of the game into our Galadriel. And there's a couple of lands on top, so yeah, probably just get down the Sigilled Starfish this turn. So let's keep both of these on top. We'll go for Forest first, and then we'll reveal the island. And we will reveal with our commander, because we know what's on top. So getting into that forest obviously drew into the island, and we'll make ourselves a treasure token. So we'll get 2 treasures from this, then be able to tap the land for mana, so that puts us on 4. Do we just save that for when Tatyova's in play though? Yeah, let's drop the island here. Make another treasure with the Provisioner. And then we need to decide if we want to hold up Reality Shift or if we want to get the Summoning Sickness away from this. I think it's a better idea to start trying to make use of the Starfish. And then we'll swing into the Demon player as well before he starts going off with big scary demons. And then we see our friend Demon Lord Belzenlok. And they didn't get too many cards off that. They're up to 7 cards in hand, so didn't chain off as much as you might think they would with this. They are down to 30 life. Just getting the Urza's Incubator with that we've had revealed to us. And now the Zurzoth swings in towards us, so if this were to deal 2 damage to us, or deal 2 damage to this Starfish, If this thing dies in combat, it can deal 1 damage to the starfish and get rid of it, so probably best letting this through. We each discard, getting rid of the reality shift, so much for that. This opponent has lost a wind-scarred crag, and a Taurian Mauler has been discarded here. Should discard another card as well. So getting 2 more devil tokens into play. And yep, Aragorn blocking the devil. So that means that our starfish will go down, we'll just have to let the damage through. And the 1 damage from the devil going straight over to Aragorn, who is sitting at now 47 life. Then casting another devil, it's Wildfire Devils that time. Choose a player at random. That player exiles an instant or sorcery from the graveyard and you copy it. So could get access to Preordain, Reality Shift. Instead getting into Burning Inquiry, so each player draws 3 and discards 3 at random. And manages to get rid of our Tatyova, so hitting some good cards off us here. Getting rid of the Puzzle Ward as well, another good one. And the Sphinx of Foresight, so we've drawn into Omen of the Sea, a land, and Joint Exploration. And all this being done into the Grimoire, of course, all this discard, so our opponent drawing a bunch. And we go through to Aragorn's turn, going to see the top card of the library. Or potentially see it, they don't have to reveal it to us. Yep, they do manage to get into a really good one, Éowyn, Shield Maiden. Keep forgetting about this card, I need to make a deck around it. The Greater Gargadon has been suspended here as well, so they do have a sack outlet. And there we see Éowyn hitting the battlefield. And then this being activated, exile a creature you control, and then you can return it to the battlefield. So they become the Monarch again, which they already were, with the Aragorn. And that does mean that another human entered the battlefield under their control this turn, so they're going to create a couple of human knights. And those are 2/2s with haste and trample, and no artwork apparently. Alright, so losing out on that Tatyova hurts, but it was going to make things more tricky anyway. Let's see here, we can go for putting a couple of lands on top here, should be fine. Need to start watching our life total, because there's a lot of damage flying around already. So we'll put the 2 lands on top. Then let's go for the Courser of Kruphix and try to start gaining some life. We know we've got a land on top because we just put it there, so could just play that, I suppose. Just play that one, and then that will trigger the Courser of Kruphix to gain us a life, and we'll make another treasure token. Can always start making foods with the Provisioner as well, if we're that worried about life. And then we could scry at sorcery speed with the Elrond, and that would allow us the castle into play. So when it or another creature, that includes tokens by the way, if that or another creature enters, then we get to scry, so keep the Castle Vantress on top, and we have scried, so that will trigger the Galadriel, and we can reveal the top card to be a land and put it into play. So obviously we knew what was on top because of the Sylvan Library, but you see how seeing the top card of your library can help you make certain plays. So if you imagine that we didn't see the top of the library with the Sylvan Library, then yeah, that certainly would have helped us being able to just look at it with the Courser of Kruphix. Already going back up to 27, we see another land on top, so yeah, we'll draw into it with either Omen of the Sea or the Joint Exploration, but we might be able to still scry something onto the top that's relevant. Could just do it with the Starfish at the end of someone's turn, so we'll just pass at that. Doing a very nice job of ramping, and it's only turn 5. And now the black player throwing out a Gauntlet of Power, so this just cares about, yeah, basic lands. So even if he throws down an Urborg, I'm not sure how that works actually. If our basics are now swamps as well. Yeah, so if he throws down an Urborg, these should tap for double mana as well, but hopefully he's accounted for that and not included Urborg in the deck. Anyway, not likely that any of us will get down swamps other than the mono black player here. So now tapping down his remaining lands for 4 mana in total, and allows himself into the Urza's Incubator. A suspend counter being removed from the Gargadon, and then Wildfire Devils going to trigger and choosing us at random, so we'll give him access to the Preordain over the Reality Shift. Mines of Moria into play. It comes in untapped. They can pay 4, tap and exile 3 creatures or 3 cards from a graveyard to make 2 treasures, and then it's Mechanized Warfare. So yeah, those devils going to be dealing 2 damage now, followed by Goblin Chain Whirler, so yeah, that's 2 damage to everything. So we're going to lose the Tireless Provisioner and the Elrond there, unfortunately, so Yeah, let's just scry with this. It means that we can't block with it, obviously, but let's just get the land into play for some landfall stuff. Keep the land on top. Triggering Galadriel, and we say yes in order to get it into play. Okay, now we can see there's a Jace's Sanctum on top, which will make our instants and sorceries cheaper. So that might help with the buyback card here, making it only cost 2 in total. Make another treasure with the Provisioner. Do we want something a bit flashier than this though? Yeah, I think we can go for the Joint Exploration here and get another land into play. Cast it with Kicker. And I'll save my Shuffle effect on the Flooded Strand, just in case we want to get rid of anything off the top. So Jace's Sanctum can go on the bottom. I don't think we, strangely enough, don't think we particularly need a Sol Ring either. So bottom that as well. Now seeing a Rift on top, we will definitely keep. Throw out a land with the Joint Exploration. And the Galadriel going to trigger, obviously, but we're not going to reveal this time because we're not seeing a land on top. Did draw into an Opt off the Joint Exploration. Well, either way, we're saying no to the Galadriel. We can hold on to the Opt for a bit, I think. Our opponent did make another Devil due to all our shenanigans there. I mean, do we just carry on now that the Goblin Chainwhirl has come in and triggered? Do we just carry on trying to make lands? Yeah, why don't we go for Omen of the Sea? We can draw into the Cyclonic Rift and maybe put a land on top. So with this we scry 2 and then draw, so we put the Yavimaya Coast on top first, because then we'll draw into the Rift, and then, yeah, that will have the Yavimaya Coast on top, ready for the Galadriel, and putting that into play. So obviously we're digging through our library quite nicely here. There is a Field of the Dead. Didn't mix up the basics in this deck, because like I said before, there's some snow shenanigans in here, but I think we should have enough for a field. Unfortunately don't have too much relevant landfall here, so yeah, we'll leave it there and wait on the Rift, I think. And I'm hoping no blocks are made here because they'll be able to deal 2 damage with any of the creatures being blocked here. That could spell the end of this and of the commander, so neither of us should be blocking. I'm obviously hoping, of course, wow, our opponent cannot miss, making us get rid of the Rift at random now as well. Obviously was hoping that with a 25% chance of that happening, that it didn't happen. Seeing another land on top. So a bunch of draw from the artifact again and more devils being made. And it's one of each of us is being attacked by the devils in order to maximise card draw, so likely at least one devil's going to go down to the Belzenlok. We'll just take 2 damage to our devil. And yep, the demon does block one, so that will be 2 damage onto something else. The Zurzoth player does take the monarchy away from Aragorn. Alright, and now forcing our opponent to make use of the sack outlet, the Greater Gargadon. Still got 9 counters on that, so plenty to go. Getting rid of the Eowyn over here, and our commander now, which will go in the command zone. And seeing the back of the Courser of Crufix as well, so might as well try and gain some life here. I'm not particularly bothered about the land that's on top, especially with our commander not in play. We'll lose a life and then gain a life to the Courser, so it's effectively a free means of getting into lands here. And we've still got a shuffle effect for the Sylvan Library in our hand. Now seeing a Jace Mirror Mage on top with all those creatures in play, probably not good enough, so we'll shuffle that away as well. And just end up with another land on top anyway. 39 lands in the deck, so it's fairly likely that we would end up into more lands. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It will be 8 different land types with the Field of the Dead, so it will trigger. And this thing is down to 7 counters on it now, so can still throw some damage around. Noteworthy that the red player does have an Anger in the bin now, so does have haste on all of his stuff. There's a Sol Ring from the Lord of the Rings player. Eomer, King of Rohan now. So targeting himself, having himself become the Monarch after the Devil player taking it away. And dealing damage to the Wildfire Devils. Okay, so I think he might have sacrificed it in response there. This only has 6 time counters on it now. I don't know if that will counter the Eomer's taking of the Monarch. No, it won't. They did reveal to us a Combat Celebrant as well, by the way, with the Herald's Horn, so we know they've got access to that. And swinging over to the Devil player. They are the Monarchs, so won't be able to block there. So now continuing to make use of the Beast, and could get rid of the Aragorn here. Yeah, 2 damage onto there. So exiling the commander with the Gilrain, and down it comes into play again as a different copy. We'll take the monarchy again, but obviously is already the monarch here. So with that, the devil player's tokens have been depleted quite nicely. Aragorn draws a card, an 8th card, at the end of the turn. And is there much point in us going for Opt? Yeah, I suppose we can save it for when our commander comes back into play again, assuming that it does. So there's the Hinterland Harbour that we already knew about. And some more scry there in Search of Greatness. That only triggers at the beginning of the upkeep. A Brainstorm can put stuff on top. Honestly, I think we need to start seeing different things other than In Search of Greatness. So we could scry that to the bottom, but we do have to draw into something with Opt as well, which we do have to account for. So yeah, we'll go Hinterland Harbour on top, and then In Search of Greatness on top of that, ready to draw into with the Opt. And that way we can actually hit a land. Go for Field of the Dead before anything else. And that will make us our first zombie token. And then we replay our Galadriel for 5 mana. And we'll just go for the Opt right now. So that is scry 1. We'll leave that on top so that we can draw into it. And that means that we reveal a land with the Galadriel. So in comes the Hinterland Harbour, triggering the Field of the Dead again. Noteworthy that the zombies are 3/3s thanks to the global effect of the Gauntlet of Power, giving a +1/+1 buff to black creatures. So we can just go for the Brainstorm now, I think, and get rid of this In Search of Greatness again, maybe. Could always put the Catacombs on top as well, ready for the speculation. Okay, Lotus Cobra will replace our Landfall mana generator. So we'll throw on top In Search of Greatness, and just throw the Forest on top. Then it can be the Lotus Cobra, so we'll make a mana on landfall every time. And then we could just scry 1 with the Sigilled Starfish. Maybe holding up mana for this would be a better idea, but we only get a scry on that as well, so might as well just be the Mystic Speculation, I suppose. So casting that with buyback for 3. And that means that we can get rid of the In Search of Greatness, because we don't really have any permanents to cheat in with that anyway. And yeah, we'll just keep these 2 forests on top, I think. Doesn't matter if we see one of them next turn. We can always grab it with the Sigilled Starfish at the end of someone's turn. So once again, Galadriel going to reveal that land and put it into play. Now once again, going to trigger the Field of the Dead for us, as well as the Lotus Cobra, which I don't think really matters. We've obviously drawn into Fierce Guardianship at some point there, which is why I don't mind so much tapping out here. So we're making all the mana, we just don't have anything to do with it at the moment, unfortunately. Alright, well that's one thing we can't counter, that's a Reaver Demon, so destroying all non-black and non-artifact creatures will keep our zombies at least, but yeah, speaking of which, let's make another one with the Starfish. Not going to be able to hold up the Fierce Guardianship now either, because our commander will not be in play anymore after this. Does deal with the devil player at least though. And now the Greater Gargadon going to do some more work, so damage being thrown onto the demon player. And then sacrificing the Goblin Chainwhirler as well, going to sacrifice the commander as well by the looks of it. So might be just trying to land the 9/7 at this point. They'll have to make sure that it comes in during the upkeep. It will have haste thanks to the anger, don't forget. Only problem is he'll have to sacrifice his Geth's Grimoire in order to make that happen. And then following it up with a Pestilence Demon. Can deal 1 damage to each creature and each player. That does include himself, but if he's got a bunch of big demons in play, he won't necessarily care. So dumping his mana into that. Going to deal 2 damage to everything. And then the 7/7 swinging in towards us. So yeah, not worried about that devil player anymore apparently. I mean, we do have a lot of mana here in all fairness. Okay, I've missed something there. I'm not sure how our opponent got that into play. Oh, they can sacrifice lands to it as well, although there's not a land in the bin here, so yeah, I have missed something, but either way they've managed to get the Gargadon into play, and it does have haste. And then the Zurzoth into play once again. So we'll see how much it takes for the demon player to start worrying about devils again. A Vandal Blast goes on to the mana doubler. So that makes our zombie tokens more susceptible to Pestilence, but they could easily have got rid of them anyway. So the 9/7 goes in towards the demons, the Zurzoth goes in at the human player, and immediately makes another devil thanks to the Zurzoth. Discards a Chandra, Awakened Inferno, and over here a Dearly Departed was discarded. So Reaver Demon jumps in the way of the Gargadon. and then deciding to pull it back. Yeah, it's not a 7/7 anymore. So Pestilence goes away, which bodes well for our tokens. Those two creatures will trade, and then again deciding to pull it back, and then our opponent having a rough time here. So the Monarchy taken by Zurzoth. He will draw a card at the end of the turn. We'll be at 9 cards by the end of the turn, and discarding a Containment Construct at the end of the turn. Herald's Horn going to trigger as usual at the beginning of the turn. Don't forget they've got a Combat Celebrant in hand. Not revealing a human that time though. And now we see Gimli of the Glittering Caves, followed by Champions of Minas Tirith. So they become the Monarch again when that enters. Okay, so around to our turn, see if we can actually do anything this game. Just, wow. Yeah, might have to down the land count. I was hoping that we'd be able to hit lots of lands off our commander, and we are doing, but seems this game it's all that we're hitting, unfortunately. So let's just top a couple of lands here. We can shuffle them away with the Verdant Catacombs if we want to. Play out our Galadriel again. And then we'll play with buyback the Mystic Speculation again, scry 3. Alright, and now seeing a Mana Crypt I don't think could be more useless, so it's bottom. I'll bottom a land just for the sake of looking at more cards here. We've got the Yavimaya available to us, so we'll get into the island. We can make a bunch of our lands into Simic lands. So say yes to her ability in order to put that land into play. And I don't think we need the shuffle effect now, so playing out the Yavimaya should be fine. And we'll get a couple of zombies on the go. And then it can be the Mystic Speculation with buyback again. And alright, there is Deliberate for some more scry. A Graven Law should scry 5 and draw us 3 cards. Yeah, don't mind having either of these, I don't think. Let's go Deliberate, draw into Graven Law next turn, and reveal the Reflecting Pool with the commander. And this way the Reflecting Pool comes into play, obviously. And then we might as well tap out on our opponents, because this is pretty much all we're doing here. We haven't had the best of luck with some of our draws, unfortunately. Alright, well, maybe a little bit too late. A Temporal Anchor. Whenever you put one or more cards on the bottom of your library while scrying, you can exile them, and during your turn you can play cards exiled with it. Also gives us a scry on upkeep, so yeah, I think we still want the Graven Law to draw into. That'll draw us into either of these two, but just in case we'll go Deliberate, the Anchor, and the Graven Law. Might be that our opponent draws us into that Graven Law with the Zurzoth, but doesn't seem to want to swing into us while we've got all these zombies, so I'll just hope that he doesn't. And now we are tapped out with a horde of zombies, and we pass and see what the demon player wants to do. Hopefully he'll start taking the Zurzoth more seriously. So just to show the demon player that I'm not looking in his direction, I'll swing in with... We'll take 3 zombies in over there, don't mind losing one of them. That is a Demon of Death's Gate. And they have hard cast that, so it's a 9/9 with Flying and Trample. The Champion of Minas Tirith triggers at the beginning of every combat phase, so they could pay the 2 here because they've got 2 cards in hand. That would allow them to attack here, but I think we definitely need to be looking at the Demon player, or the Devil player I should say. But yeah, swinging in at us. I mean, there is an argument for not leaving a Simic player in play while you've got lots and lots of mana that you're facing down. I mean, this isn't one of those Simic decks that really goes off and starts completely taking over the game, but obviously our opponent doesn't know that. Simprodder into play now for the Devil player. So that's a 3/2 with Menace. See a Gaia Reach Sanitarium in play as well. We've got 5 damage that needs to be dealt to us before we go down. A Mind Stone as well, we don't care about countering. And then Gaia Reach Sanitarium, each player draws and discards a card, so yeah, more Devil's going to get made. So there we draw into the Graven Law. We'd be alright stacking our library with all the scry effects if not for the Devil player. So we'll just get rid of the Catacombs. And therefore going to make some hasty Devils because all 3 of us have discarded a card here. Then thrown out a Library of Leng ready for when he discards stuff, means that he doesn't have to lose it necessarily. This player cannot swing in at the humans player anymore. I dare say it's coming in towards us anyway. So yeah, I mean we go down either way here because we either lose to the Devil's damage or we lose to its damage after death, because everything's relevant with the Mechanized Warfare, combat and non-combat damage. So Geth's Grimoire triggers again because he's attacking 2 players. Yeah, if we just managed to clear off a couple of lands off the top there last turn, we might have been able to get into cards like Graven Lore and the Temporal Anchor. Not sure that we could have dodged all this damage from the demon player, but yeah, I think it might have ultimately changed the entire game that we decided to draw into the Cyclonic Rift, because I really didn't think that we were going to discard that, but like I said before, our opponent couldn't miss this game, having us discard all the good stuff that we wanted to keep. So we might as well force our opponent to point the damage around here. So we take out those 3 devils and they do deal 2 damage upon death, so all of these are going to get pointed directly at our face. And that's us done. Yeah, managed to do all the scry and landfall stuff, but just couldn't manage to get into the payoffs, unfortunately. Like I said before, had a hell of a lot of mana and absolutely nothing to do with it. So maybe need to address the balancing of the deck, but it might just be bad luck. I'll have to play it again and see what it performs like. That is a secluded courtyard this time, naming human with that. Everyone else here seems to be at a fairly reasonable life total. And now Palace Jailer going to exile something, and our opponent's already the Monarch, but would have become the Monarch if he wasn't already. Getting rid of the big 9/9 demon under that. Oh, and that's not good. The demon player just decided to scoop after that, so takes us out and then bounces. Yeah, I'm sorry, but you need to get a ban for that. That's not good. Shouldn't affect the outcome of a game like that, knock someone out and then just bounce. Anyway, the Gimli is swinging into the only player left. Knocks him down to 18. Might be that a pre-con deck wins this one. Combat Celebrant into play finally, followed by a Frontier Warmonger. So they're going to have Menace on their creatures next turn. Thanks to this, we'll make the demons unable to block. Well, 2 of them will be able to block 1 creature. 3 cards in the demon player's hand, one of which was a swamp, played out straight away. And now seeing another one, Archfiend of Spite this time, followed by Black Market Connections. That can make changelings, which do count as demons. And our opponent has 0 cards in hand, so can pay the cost on the Minas Tirith, just has to make sure that he clicks correctly here. Obviously if he attacks, it means that he has to watch out for the swing back though, because there will be 2 combats. Anyway, 12 damage dealt to the humans player. Herald's Horn triggers again at the beginning of the turn, revealing nothing. And yeah, it's noteworthy you can't attack all with Combat Celebrant. You do have to click it and choose to exert it, so yeah, I think our opponent's managed to do it correctly here. And yes, it has been exerted, so everything has Menace. There'll be an additional combat phase here, so may well be that our opponent manages to get the win here. Noteworthy that they do have Death's Gate in play again because the demon player stole the monarchy, which means it comes back from underneath this thing. They have to double block. It's on the Combat Celebrant. I don't know if that really matters now that they've got the additional combat step, but they'll keep these demons in play anyway, ready to double block again. So that triggers Gimli and creates a treasure token. And then Gimli with double strike hits again for another treasure. Our opponent's down to 3, so even if they double block on 1 creature, they should still be able to get through here. They'd have to double block and remove 1 creature and just allow Gimli to deal 2 damage, leaving them at 1. But then this will kill them off anyway, so our opponent's got him here. Okay, looks like our opponent didn't get the additional combat there. This was exerted, so yeah, not sure what happened there. It's likely our opponent wins to this thing anyway, but yeah, that kind of thing on Magic Online really can turn a game in the wrong direction. It's noteworthy that they have dropped a Rogue's Passage at some point as well. Is this a big angel that's going to reanimate a bunch of humans? I'm not sure what's in this pre-com. Well, it is reanimation. It's in the form of a Marshal's Anthem though. That has been kicked twice, so it will reanimate 2 creatures. Bringing out an Eomar, King of Rohan, which is a 6/6, so can deal further damage to the Demon of Death's Gate, taking that out. And they've got the Dearly Departed as well, so that's obviously where the plus counters were coming from. They've got this out in order to get a flyer into play, I imagine. And then after that, a Shared Animosity, which probably not going to be relevant this game. You never know, they might get lifelink on their demons though. Black Market Connections goes on the stack. You'd think they would go down to 1 and try to draw a card here. Not sure if they've got Whip of Erebos in the deck or something like that, but that's pretty much what they would need in order to have any chance of surviving here, I think. Either that or combo off. So our opponent did go down to 1, throwing down a Herald of Anguish. and paying the 1 mana into the champion of Minas Tirith, so can attack him with 3 creatures. I think that is 6 damage on each of them, so dealing 18 to our opponent, although they do have the flyer in the way, so that can trade. And then the humans player turns in sideways, and that should get rid of the mono black demon player here. So yeah, not the best showing for us with our commander. Obviously, like I said before, we got Shawfall the scry stuff, but didn't get any of the payoffs really until right at the end when it was too late. I don't imagine that this commander will be too popular anyway, and this was an interesting game with Zurzoth going off, and turns out a precon deck won this one, which I think is really interesting, so speaks to how well some of the precons are built nowadays by wizards, and yeah, you can hold your own straight out of the box in some cases. So hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you do want to see more from Galadriel, then let me know in the comments, and I will try to get a better showing next time. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.